I was invited to Los Angeles for a reason I'm not allowed to talk about yet. This was months ago, and I'm still not allowed to talk about it. All we had to do was drive to Detroit, and the rest of the trip was covered by the still-to-be anonymous third party. When you drive from my house to Detroit, you pass what has become a famous road in the past decade. This road shares the name of the famous movie, 8 Mile. Yep, it's the same place. Years ago, my dad worked for a certain national TV show that followed cops around on their beat, and he spent a fair amount of time around 8 Mile, around the time depicted in the movie. Crazy stuff. Anyone who assumes that the Detroit airport is anything other than world class is crazy. The Detroit airport has an elevated transport, moving sidewalks, is clean and futuristic, and is all around amazing. The flight was great. Look at me here. It looks like I had the row all to myself. Nope. We waited to shoot this footage until the lady next to me went to the bathroom because she started out the flight loudly fighting with the flight attendants and spent the rest of the flight loudly muttering angrily to herself, punctuated by odd comments directed at nobody. Still, I'd barely looked away from the window and we were over the Rocky Mountains. That's what the angry lady next to me said anyway, and she sounded especially angry when she said it. Another look away and we were over either the Grand Canyon or some other equally impressive canyon that no one ever talks about because the Grand Canyon hogs all the credit. Finally, we were over Los Angeles, and the plane was down. We got our own car. A driver was waiting for us, and I finally learned about the insanity that is the 101 freeway in Los Angeles. First off, a 10-mile drive took about 45 minutes, with all the stopping and starting. Next, I saw something I've never seen before. 2 girls sitting on top of a car while it sped down the freeway. That's right, on top of the car, on the roof, sitting there, getting sunburned from the looks of it. For as long as I was watching them, I didn't see them splatter on the freeway, so I assumed they lived. We finally arrived at our hotel, the very classy Beverly Garland in Studio City. I liked it a lot. But I discovered if you head south from that hotel, after a reasonable walk, you end up at Ventura Boulevard. Yeah, that Ventura Boulevard. Mentioned in songs by the Everly Brothers, Tom Petty, and Frank Zappa. The very Ventura Boulevard Michael Jackson was driving on when he wrote Billie Jean. I happened to have done my research, and I learned that on Ventura is a restaurant called Sushi Dan. I had read ahead, so I knew what I was getting into, but Sushi Dan is a cool place. Loud music plays at all times. Interestingly, and I'm not making this up, Eminem's theme song from the movie 8 Mile started playing just after he got there. Coincidence? I don't know. I can't play any of it, of course. We're substituting our own music for the stuff that can get this video taken down. At Sushi Dan, I was able to try Geoduck sashimi. While Geoduck sounds like it should be a gross bird, it's actually a giant clam with something like an elephant trunk that can grow to over 3 feet in length. Raw Geoduck is kind of a recent thing at sushi restaurants, and they're not cheap. Find something called giant clam at your favorite sushi place and double check that what they're serving is Geoduck and expect to pay more than $20 for it. Geoduck has an odd texture. It's actually crispy, not unlike a big piece of cartilage. It's unsettling. The clam itself is fresh and tastes like the ocean. The crispiness kind of ruins it for me though. It just doesn't seem right. Geoduck is just not one of my favorites. Well, that was my first day in LA. We were still operating on Michigan time, so it felt like bedtime already. But the adventures of the next day would make today's fun pale in comparison. Maybe next episode, I can tell you why I was actually flown out to LA. We'll see.